So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of a voice. I'm still dealing with whatever this is, but it's a good thing it's your topic this week because
Yeah,
you get to talk a little more.
that's
So
right. You ready?
I'm ready.
We did that backwards. You want to do the intro?
I'll let you do it. You do a good. You
All
do a
right.
good job with it.
Thank you. Thank you. I got to add a boy. What's up, guys and gals? Welcome to the What Makes Us Human podcast, and welcome to episode 62 of our little podcast here. Right here's John Lindeman, and over there is JR with a slight cold.
Yep.
Yep. And today we're talking about a fun, little, friendly subject matter.
But are they really friendly?
Huh?
Are they really friendly?
Yes, they're pretty friendly. For
Yeah.
who they are, they're pretty friendly. They
Okay.
try. Household cats, domesticated cats. And before, dear listener, you roll your eyes because you're a dog person and hit the stop button. Give us a chance. This is going to be good. I learned a lot. I hope you'll learn a lot
I'm also a dog person.
as well. I'm both.
Hmm.
Definitely both. Because
I am.
it's apples and oranges
My allergies do not get along well with
with
cats.
cats. Yeah.
So
Yeah, my son has a buddy who lives about 3 hours away, and when he comes over and visits, we have to put Opie in the garage.
yeah, I guess maybe some. I don't know. You don't really hear talk about breeds of cats as much like you do with dogs,
That's right. That's
but
right.
I guess maybe some breeds of cats um, produce more dander or something. I don't know what it is, but some cats I can be around and I'm okay, and
And
others
others.
I am like instantly dying.
Oh, really?
Like
It's like shut down mode.
yeah, like my eyes are like everything. My eyes are swelling and itching, and like it's just absolutely miserable.
Oh, well, with household cats, we got a lot to talk about. Very interesting subject matter. Like I said, I'm not a dog person. I'm not a cat person. I'm pretty sure I'm both. I've had both. I've been deeply connected to both. Um, I had cats growing up. Um, when I was growing up, for the first half, the cats were outside, and then for the second little bit of me being at home, Dad got a litter box, and we had the cats. We only have one at a time, by the way, but we had the cat in the house. Um, so household cats.
Yeah, we had a few growing up at different times. We'd have one, but both the combination of allergies as well as the very busy road that we lived on,
Oh yeah.
did not bode well for
Oh,
cats.
so you probably went through
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, we had to convince my little sister that hey, we just can't have cats.
Oh, that's sad. Well, okay. The first thing that we come to with domesticated cats is the domestication. Um, and there's the as soon as I look this up, there's the overarching question: Are they even domesticated really? If you watch them and the way they act, and they're so snooty, and they walk in and they're like, "Oh, you're home," you know,
Yeah,
versus the way when you get home a dog acts.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a big difference in when I get home and how Opie acts and how Yeti acts, and Yeti's the beagle.
yeah. A cat couldn't care less that you're there.
That's right.
Yeah,
Now, when Ty's home, Opie seems to light up a little more. That dander puffs out just a little bit more. But so domestication. There is archaeological evidence from 8,000 years ago that was dug up in 1983 on the island of Cyprus. Now it's the island of Cyprus. There's a cat's jawbone. Evidently, they're buried with some human remains.
okay.
Um, and the writer of this article from Science Magazine had a good point. He said if cats were not domesticated at that point, why would you take a sneering, spitting, clawing, hissing animal onto a boat and go over to Cyprus?
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, kill the mice on the boat, maybe. I don't know.
maybe. But
But so, do they know about when this was buried then?
this seems to date from 8,000 years ago.
Okay.
And evidently there's more evidence that goes all the way back to 12,000 years ago, but it seems a little bit more debated. Um, I like to think about now. You had a good point, maybe mice on the boat, but that brings up another good point. It seems that this is one of the few animals that domesticated itself
Okay.
because as humans had a surplus of food as hunter gathering, as we got better at that, and we settled down into so-called cities, what have you, way back, and we had surplus of food, that meant we had rodents.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like where there's a blackberry bush, there's mice, and where there's mice, there's a black snake, kind of thing, you know. So where there's humans who have a surplus of food, you have mice, and where there's mice, all of a sudden the cats from the wild start nosing around because there's mice.
Okay.
I thought that was really interesting
Sure.
because if you try to take a cat and domesticate it, that's a tall order.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever run across a wild cat like that's obviously not behind the barber shop, for instance, or something that's not really had any human contact and tried? You probably haven't and
Sure.
tried
I
to.
mean, we have
I said you probably haven't because you're not really a cat person.
yeah, I mean, we had a cat that had kittens in our well house, a feral cat. And and so we've there's some in the neighborhood
Okay.
that, you'll see once in a while. They um and then there's one that kind of wanders around that's definitely belongs to somebody because it's more friendly. Like I was
Oh, this is currently?
yeah, when I was working from home some, I'd sit out on the back patio um at the fire pit and in the mornings and do my work, and this cat started showing up and it just jumped up in my lap and want to be
Huh.
petted. So, but there's
Did you
other
name it?
no, we didn't feed it either. It clearly belonged to somebody.
Oh, okay.
But there, there's others that we see, both the mama cat and now the what were kittens that are grown that you see around
Yeah.
um, periodically.
So it seems that they were domesticated. Basically, they domesticated themselves because they found mice, which happened to be around food, which happened to be a surplus of our work.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, they were highly revered. Is that a word? Um, in Middle Eastern culture, especially Egypt, but not so in European cultures. In European cultures, so it's weird how when you think of one thing, it like if I say Eastern Russia, you may picture a cloudy day.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I say um, fishing on the pier, you may picture a sunny day and that vacation feeling at the beach. But if I say, cats were revered in Egypt, you may picture a statue of Bastet with she's the Egyptian goddess, cat goddess. But then I say, but in Europe, you may automatically go to picturing a witch's hat and the black cat in front of the full moon
Okay.
kind of thing. Because in Europe, evidently, they were associated with witches because witches and such things that people blamed on things they couldn't explain, they were said to have familiars that were with them, around them, part of them. And the black cat was definitely one of the more familiars that would be a personification of the evilness of the witch.
If Europe had if Europe had a better relationship with cats, what might that have done to the plague? You think about
Oh,
different
yeah.
you think about different things that were spread by rodents
Yeah.
or by the fleas or whatever on
Yeah.
rodents. Um, you know, if there were more cats around killing off the rodents, might that have done something different?
I think it would have because the Black Plague would have ended up in the tummy a lot of times um, of the cat because the rat ended up in the belly of the cat, and also
Maybe, or maybe the cat kills the rodent and the fleas jump off the dead rodent.
maybe maybe, but also when you revere something, you um, imitate it, you mimic it.
Okay.
So you have Egyptians shaving their heads and not growing beards; they're very clean,
Okay.
and they revere something that's extremely very very clean. You know. Whereas Europe is probably the most disgusting by far. You can look at Asian cultures. You look anywhere in the world, and Europe is your most disgusting place to have to live if you're used
During
to.
that time period.
Oh yeah, if you're
Yeah.
used to deodorant and just being. I don't know how anybody had sex in Europe for like thousands of years. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just being serious. And so it may have had a huge effect, or it might not. But all right. So now, what is the? I did not look this up. I meant to look it up. What is the definition of domestication?
I do not know.
So we're going to live. Everybody's on their telephone, cellophone. Who's going to get there? Hannah's there first. Read it, Hannah.
The process of taming an animal and keeping it as a pet or on a farm.
Okay. All right. So yeah, cats not really domesticated. Barely domesticated, if at all. Is that not the strangest thing? Yeah. Any comments on that?
I mean, not really. I when it comes to when I first bought the house, Hannah was still living in Boone. She was still in school,
Okay.
and she texted me one day, and she's like, "I got you a cat." And I was like, "No, no, you didn't." And
Is a stuffed animal.
she's like, "No." She's like, her at her mom's work, a cat had kittens, and they were trying to give away the kittens.
Oh,
And I was like, "If it comes here, it's staying outside. I don't mind a cat that's outside,
right.
killing mice and whatever. I'll take care of a cat that's outside.
You're segueing
But
beautifully to our next subject
I
matter.
don't, that kind of not really domesticated, but doing a job.
Yeah.
Um,
His name was Bruce. He had a black nose and black little toe beans on his feet.
but
Oh.
when I said if it comes here, it's going outside, she said, "Okay, never mind.
So what'd you do with Bruce? Did he disappear?
Giving away to somebody else."
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to skip one thing and do it at the end and just go right, since you started a nice segue, we're going to go right into
Okay,
outside cats versus inside cats.
all right,
Yeah. All right. So when I was growing up, like I said, our cats were always out. Now they would come in, but then mom and dad be like, all right, put Kitty, or, we have one named Kitty. Put Kitty outside so Kitty can what?
take care of business.
Taking care of business every day. Yep. So Kitty would go outside to do Kitty's thing, Kitty paperwork, because Kitty paperwork really smells if not dealt with properly. Holy cow! Dog pee has a smell, but man, there ain't nothing like the ammonia in cat urine. All right. So up until about the 1940s, all cats, unless you were just weird, all cats were outside.
Okay,
They just were. Like there were like millions of household cats. I don't even know if you called them that. They were just neighborhood cats, and they wandered around outside and got in fights and stuff. And I think back then your cat probably was a little bit more wounded and war weary than it is today, because they were outside all the time. All right. Enter a fellow by the name of Edward Lowe.
okay,
L-O, is it Lowe? Yeah, Lowe, like Lowe's, who is not sponsoring this podcast yet. Um, Edward Lowe worked in a family business that sold sand and clay and coal. And one day, it's back in 1947. It was one of those really cold days where it never gets hardly above freezing. He was sitting in his office chair and doing his thing at his desk. I guess he wasn't working on his computer because he didn't have one yet. And his neighbor dropped by and said, "Hey, my cat can't go to the bathroom." And he says, "Why can't your cat go to the bathroom?" And this lady says, "Well, I keep this little box full of sand in our garage." And the kitty, people were starting to do that a little bit. The kitty goes and potties in the sand. And he said, "Well, what's wrong with your sand?" And she says, "Well, it's frozen. I cleaned the box out, but now my sand pile outside is frozen. I've got a little sand out there." And he said, "Well, so is ours. We sell this stuff and ours is frozen too." Like, duh. And she just stands there like, "Well, aren't you going to help me?" And he thinks, "Well, I got to get rid of this lady." So they had just got in this new product, is more of a clay based thing that he didn't really know what to do with, and they decided they weren't going to purchase any more of it.
Okay.
because they just didn't they couldn't figure out a fit for this particular clay.
Okay.
And so he went and put some in a bag and gave it to her. And he saw her the next week, and she said, "Edward, this is the greatest stuff in the world. It covers the cat smell. It's way better than the sand. It doesn't get tracked through the house like the sand. This is a big deal." And he thought, And so he thought of a phrase, kitty litter, and he started selling this stuff. And he ended up when he retired, he sold a $200 million business
Huh.
for cat litter.
It's interesting because
So this guy pretty much brought American cats indoors single handedly.
yeah. But as you talk about sand, you talk about clay. At least what comes to mind for me.
Now say it's like clay. I don't know. I don't know what it looked like or
Well, I was gonna say here in North Carolina, clay is what we have for dirt.
orange
It's
clay.
the
Yeah.
red stuff, and to me, there's a lot more moisture in that than sand. It retains moisture, and
Yeah.
sand kind of. So if something's freezing in the wintertime, I would think the clay would freeze more than the sand.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, the main thing.
Clearly, it's not North Carolina red
No,
clay
it's
we're
not.
talking about.
The main thing it did was that this lady was bragging about was there was zero odor. It totally masked the odor of the cat urine.
So there was some kind of molecule in that particular dirt that
Yeah.
was helping with that.
Yep. Now with the invention of cat litter, so you give a what is it? My wife says. My wife teaches preschoolers. If you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk,
Yeah,
and then he's gonna want a napkin.
it's a story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I had never really heard that till
yeah.
I
It's
met
a
her.
kid's book. I mean, yeah.
But all right. So once you start down this road, well, you get Kitty living in the house constantly, like Opie is at our house. Well, cats like to scratch things, so then you need somebody to declaw your cat
Or scratching posts.
or scratching post. But people start declawing
There's
their
secondary
cats.
markets. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you have scratching posts. You have declawing becoming a thing. Now the problem with declawing is once you do that, your cat is married to the indoor environment.
Yeah.
Because he may be Billy Badbutt, but if he ain't got claws, he's gonna starve probably outside. I mean, I guess they can.
Or get hurt by other cats.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
He might be able to eat okay on grass. I don't know, but eventually another cat's gonna tear him or her up. All right. Another thing I got on this is people are divided between cats and dogs. Some people are cat people, some people are dog people. But I don't feel that's fair because I feel like it's apples and oranges. I don't feel like it's a Granny Smith apple and a Honeycrisp apple. I feel like it's apples and oranges. It's not the best comparison. The lifespans are totally different. Cats live way longer than most dogs. A cat can live a long time. I've never met a dog that lived 20 years.
We had.
It's rare.
She wasn't that. I mean, double digits, but the lab we had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think he was 16.
Yeah.
And that's the longest.
That's an old dog.
Yeah, that's the longest to me of the dogs that I've had.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually once your dog hits about 9, you better start the grieving process. Be getting ready. But when a cat's 9, you got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Ask you this, John. Does Annie act like she's 10 when she's at your house?
No.
She's still wide open.
Yeah, she's still wide open. Yeah. But she's a
Meanwhile-
smaller dog too.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Copper, they're both about the same age, but he's basically blind,
Oh,
you
okay.
know.
Yeah.
And he's doing okay, but he'll run into stuff when you let him off his lead and let him run around. He'll run into stuff if you move things because he
Now
can't see.
Now what I'm talking about.
Those are our two dogs, by the way.
Yeah. What I'm talking about is totally human created though. A cat in the wild that's 2 years old is a very elderly cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, most cats don't even make it a year living behind the barbershop. Yeah, they just don't make it. And they look rough. They're missing an eye, they're missing ears. Yeah, they've been neutered by their buddy in a fight. All right, so the lifespans are different. The poo habits are way different.
Okay.
Way different. So, I mean, what are the chances that it is 2022, and it is very common to walk into a house and somewhere there's a box where an animal has pooped. And later that day, the human being is going to walk up, the Homo sapiens in the home is going to walk up and get a little scooper and scoop that poop into a bag and throw it away. That's just so weird to me that that's something that we currently do.
Yeah.
I do it. But and then with dogs, we take them outside and we have the inevitable Walmart bag tied to our leash because we're in a neighborhood. And you don't want to be that guy that's just leaving your dog's droppings on the side of the road where everybody walks. And Yeti assumes the position, looks like he's doing math in his head, and bloop, 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 on the sidewalk it goes. And then I reach down with the bag inverted and scoop it up and then uninvert the bag and tie it. And hopefully nothing gets on my hand and we keep walking. That is so weird.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld says the reason we haven't been contacted by extraterrestrial life is because we're still picking up dog crap.
Mm.
That they're like, oh, they're not ready yet. Once they stop doing that, they'll be ready to be contacted. Then first contact will happen. So I'm both because it's just to me they're totally different. We had Mama, so fun story. This big male cat waddled up to our house one day, and it was orange, and I was like, "Well, hello," and I heard that most orange cats are male, and I was like, "Well, aren't you something? We don't have time for you. I'm sorry, you need to skedaddle." And I could not get this cat to go away, so I went and got the weed eater and just cranked it. I would never hurt an animal. I did not get the weed eater to aim at the animal. I just cranked the weed eater. I don't even know if I had string in it at the time. And Fred ran off. Well, Carrie comes home 5 minutes later. There's a big orange cat on our porch. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I said, well, don't feed it, And too late. Aubrey's out there with a hot dog or something. You know what I mean? It just, yeah. That night, the cat is clawing at our door to come in the house. Don't let the cat in the house. We don't have a litter box, blah, blah, blah. Well, a week later, we have a litter box and a pet cat, giant pet male cat named Fred. Fred is very sad, and we sat the kids down and we were like, Fred has obviously some sort of stomach tumor, and we're going to have to look at getting this cat put down. This is really sad. So we had a lady from our church who takes care of cats that are
Hospice cats.
yeah, kind of. I had her come by and take a look, and she said, "Well, I got really good news. Fred is going to be okay." I said, "You're kidding," and she said, "Fred is going to be fine. Fred is Frederica, and she's pregnant." And about that time, I saw something move. I saw a foot push out, and I was like, "Oh dear God, what has happened to my family?" And on April 1st, on April's Fool's Day of that year, we were getting ready for church. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget it. And Carrie comes. We had a dryer and washer in the garage. That was wonderful. And she came running in from the dryer and washing machine, getting some clothes from church, and said, "Oh my gosh, Fred's had." We just called her Fred from there that day forth. Fred's having babies on top of your mower. And I went out and looked, and there on top of my old Cub Cadet were all these little things that looked like they were covered in cheese. And Fred was cleaning them off. And she just looked at me like, don't come over here right now. And we were like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Because Carrie raised dogs, and they need a little bit more help sometimes. Now, a lot of times the dog is fine. You just have to know the temperament of the mama. And we just decided, you know what? This is a cat. She's got this. Let's go to church. We got home from church. There was nobody to be found anywhere, and they were behind the washer and dryer in a little box that she had found, and everything was good, and we had kittens.
Yeah.
But since we called the vet and scheduled an appointment to begin with, from that day forward, if we took Fred to the vet, she was just Fred. Like I thought it would be Frederica, but now she's just Fred. But Fred lived a long life with us, and we still have Opie. Fred passed away a year and a half ago. That was a sucky day. But Opie's still with us. He's 20 pounds of male orange behemoth cat. He needs to lose some weight because he's got that little fat pad that goes, excuse me, pardon me, when he walks back and forth. So
One of the cats we had when I was a kid, my my sister, who was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 at the time, kept asking for a cat, and we're like, mom and dad kept saying, no, we can't have a cat. The road's too busy. We've already got a dog. We can't have a cat. And she just, being the way, little girls are, she just kept, I want a cat, I want a kitty. And so finally, kind of as a way of, seemingly kind of pushing her off, mom was like, "Well, why don't you pray that God will send you a cat?" And
Oh boy.
about a week later, mom was standing at the sink in the kitchen, and a cat jumped up on the windowsill. And had those crank windows, so she cranked and opened up the window to kind of push the cat off the windowsill, and the cat just came in, jumped down the floor, and laid down the floor like it belonged there.
Oh my gosh. And his cat's name was St. Paul.
The cat ended up being named Tiger. It
Okay.
was a striped cat. And of course, as soon as this cat jumps in and lays down on the floor, my sister walks in and she's like, "Oh, it's the cat that God sent me," So about a week later, we found out this cat is pregnant,
Oh, you've
and
been
we
through
had
this
yeah,
too.
and we had kittens. Yeah,
Welcome to the club.
but yeah, sadly, as I um, referenced earlier, shortly after we gave all the kittens away, Tiger tried to cross the road and didn't make it. So, but yeah, we did not have good luck with cats growing up.
We had a cat when I worked at Mast up in Valley Cruises.
Okay.
Big black cat. Her name was Crybaby.
Oh,
And we had scales there to measure out the candy.
yeah.
One of her favorite places to lay was on those scales. We would clean them when she got off, obviously. But people would walk by and she'd just be sitting on these scales and she'd look up at them and she'd scare some people because they weren't expecting to see a cat, but they were automatic. So whenever you put something on them, they would automatically turn on and weigh that thing. And she was consistently 16 and a half pounds. People
Nice.
would be like, "How much does she weigh?" And there'd be times where she'd jump up and she'd lay across my shoulders while I was sitting at the front desk, or I'd hold her right here against my shoulder, and people were like, "There's a cat here." Yeah,
Yep.
she did not catch mice.
No mice.
No mice.
Mama caught moles, lots of moles, buddy.
Mm,
We had moles, and she'd leave them. She didn't eat them. She'd leave them there on the doorstep, like, look at what I got.
yeah,
It's gross.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really gross. All right. So let me ask you this: did you know that you've heard of a tabby cat?
yeah,
Tabby is not a breed,
yeah.
and you mentioned earlier that's true. We don't talk about breeds with cats the way we do with dogs. Um, tabby is a coat pattern
Yeah.
more than it is a breed. I did not know that. So tabby cat is your cat that has the famous M, as in mother, the M on its forehead from the pattern. If you look,
Oh,
you can
okay.
kind of see an M on the forehead. Um, that's tabby cat,
Okay.
and they get along with people real well. Um, let's see, and it can be any domestic cat, evidently.
Sure.
I thought that was neat. And Mama has the M on her forehead.
Okay.
Yep, Hannah. Yeah, and that cat there in that picture definitely has it.
Yeah.
All right, so some interesting cat breeds. Have you ever heard of the polydactyl?
That sounds like a dinosaur.
It has multiple. It can have up to 6 or 7 toes on each paw. Yeah, they have
Okay.
multiple
Like
toes going
dew
now.
claw things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
polydact. It's a mutant. That's right. Snowshoe cat,
Okay.
white muzzle and feet with dark points and blue eyes.
All right.
Looks like a Siamese with white boots on. The calico cat.
That one I've heard of.
Yep. Evidently, the calico cat. It's has different markings because of random activation of genes, and the necessary traits for the what we call a calico pattern are on the X chromosome, and therefore nearly all calico cats are female. Interesting.
Okay.
British Shorthair is the one that looks really cute with the chubby cheeks. Known for good looks, typical, easygoing, and fun-loving personality. If you're a dog person, you're just like,
I've never met a cat that meets that
yeah,
criteria.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. Siamese, blue eyes. Now, what's the movie? We are Siamese, if
Careful.
you please.
Lady and the Tramp.
Oh, okay. Yep. Lady and the Tramp's where that's from. They made their U.S. debut in 1878 when a Siamese cat was given to President Rutherford B. Hayes and his wife by an American consul.
I think that scene is why that movie has a, warning in front of it now on Disney Plus.
Correct.
That song.
It's yeah,
Ah, okay.
it's not on the kids um profile anymore because of that.
I didn't realize that would be a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We can edit that out.
You're good.
Siamese cats are especially known as being very vocal, and their loud meows are sometimes mistaken for babies crying.
Every Siamese cat I've ever met has been the meanest cats I've ever met.
Yes, yeah. Norwegian forest cat is
Okay.
a cool looking cat. It looks
Okay.
like a small Maine Coon. That's what it looks like.
All right.
Japanese bobtail.
Okay.
Cats in the front, rabbits in the back. And that is a perfect description. This thing, look at that.
Interesting.
Folks, if you have a minute, pause the podcast and check them out. Persian,
Yeah.
lots. Now, Jared, you would sneeze your head off just looking, at a Persian cat. Yep. Scottish fold. Weird looking. Looks like a baby or something. But the ears are straight and yet folded over. Now they're not docked, they're just folded.
Okay.
Yep. The cat looks perpetually scared.
This is the chunkiest cat I've ever seen.
Okay.
Gray tabby. Describes not a breed, but a coat color and pattern. And is that all I've got? I think that's all I've got. All right, so real quick, there's two types of cats, big and small. The big ones roar, and the small ones don't. The small ones purr. Now, I got on science.com or something, um, and when reading about purring, this is what I got. There's an apparatus that is made up of tightly connected, delicate bones that are linked together, and they go from the back of the cat's tongue up to the base of its skull. And when they are in the right frame of mind, the cat vibrates their larynx, and then that sets this kind of working of highway bones to resonating,
Okay.
and you get the purring sound.
All right.
As far as big cats go, this is more of a. Oh, here it is. There's a length of tough cartilage that goes from the hyoid area to the base of the skull, which prevents purring, but it creates more of an environment for a roar that can reach up to 114 decibels. Now, it would be absolutely hilarious if this was reversed and your household tabby cat can roar. That would be so awesome. You know what I'm saying? He could just walk in the room and be like, scare the heck out of the whole family.
What's the cat that you sometimes see people have as pets that's just absolutely huge?
Maine Coon.
Okay.
I want one.
Looks like a small mountain lion or something more than what we think of as a
And usually they're
cat.
really, really furry, long hair kind of thing. And they can be the size of like a small dog. Like way bigger than Annie, your dog Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be
On
huge.
on the uh on the topic of big cats, there's wild. There's bobcats and panthers or mountain lions or what have you. And I think officially, I'm not sure exactly how the terminology is, but basically they're extinct. They don't exist in North Carolina because whatever the definition of it, of however often you have to see one or whatever, it doesn't meet that definition. But they're not extinct. They're still out there.
Okay.
I've heard one scream, and it's the most terrifying. When a panther screams
Yeah.
in a dark forest, it's the most terrifying thing because it sounds like a woman screaming. It sounds exactly like a woman screaming. And yeah, I actually had
Just send a shiver down your spine.
this has been quite. Oh, yeah, absolutely. This has been quite a while back, but I had a panther, whatever you want to call it, cross in front of me right before I turned on our road. So they're definitely around. You talk, especially if you talk to farmers with livestock and stuff. They know they're still there, but like officially, they're not. You know,
Yeah.
but every once in a while, a hunter will catch one on a game camera, or
They're like
a
ghosts.
farmer will see one and starts calves start turning up missing. That kind of thing.
It's almost like Bigfoot.
But,
Yep. Now there is one big cat that can't roar but does purr and can't retract its claws fully.
okay.
The cheetah.
Okay.
Yep. So the cheetah kind of screws up all the rules.
All right.
He or she does not play by the rules. Now, last but not least, I got cats and entertainment. So we got a list up here on the board. First and foremost, Garfield. When I was a kid, I had all the Garfield books from the book fair. I had tons of
Well,
Garfield
see, that's
books.
saying something because there's a lot of Garfield books anymore.
I had a bunch of them. Yeah. Sylvester the cat. Is he the one that talked with his tongue kind of like that? What?
Suffering succotash.
Yeah, is that him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chase Tweety Bird usually.
Yeah. I had to throw in Tony the Tiger. You don't really think of him as a cat, but Tony the Tiger.
Big cat. Okay.
They're great, right? Wasn't that
Yep.
what he said?
Yep.
Frosted Flakes.
Yep.
All right, one of my all-time favorites. Not a male, is actually a female. Grumpy Cat passed away not too long ago. Love Grumpy Cat. You familiar?
Memes. Yes.
Memes, yes. Snagglepuss. Tell us about Snagglepuss, Jared.
Snagglepuss was one of several cats in Hanna-Barbera cartoons in the 70s. There was Snagglepuss. There was Top Cat. Top Cat was kind of an alley cat. Um, Snagglepuss was more of a performer. Snagglepuss was the one that said exit stage right.
Oh, okay. Now I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Top Cat was more of like, he was an alley cat. He was with other cats, but he was kind of the ringleader
Yeah.
in their shenanigans.
You just said shenanigans.
I did. And Mr. Jinx, who was the cat who chased Pixie and Dixie, who were mice, in Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
And then can't mention cats without Tom from Tom and Jerry.
Yep.
I watched a lot of Tom and Jerry. Just simple, fun.
Absolutely. I love Tom and Jerry as a kid.
It's a cat and mouse version of oh gosh, the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
Oh,
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Jinx and Pixie and Dixie were similar.
I need to look that up.
That's I think they were on the Huckleberry Hound show.
Okay.
So this cartoon's from your era, kind of.
Kinda. Yeah. Yeah. I was born in
When you were
'76.
a small kid, anyway.
Yeah. So my
When I was a kid, we got all the reruns of Hanna-Barbera stuff.
okay.
Up until the late '90s when Cartoon Network started coming out with some new stuff.
Yeah. The cartoons got really weird once I got into college. Like I was just like, wait, what? What is happening?
Yep.
All right, that's cats. You got anything?
I think I'm good.
Litter boxes, so weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's weird. Kind of weird. And if you move those things, they say to move them like an inch a day until you get it moved to where you want it.
Because they're so used to where they're going.
If you just pick it up and take it somewhere into another room to be used, oh, that cat's going to rebel and you're going to know it
Okay.
because your house is going to stink. And if you have multiple floors and only one cat, they say to put a litter box on each floor. Yeah. So they're finicky, man. They'll hike a leg on you in a skinny minute if you don't watch it. So totally different than dogs.
Absolutely. I'll stick with dogs.
All right, there you go. So that was cats.
All right, folks. You can find us on social media at WMUHPodcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Rate, like, and subscribe.
You can email us WMUHPodcast@gmail.com. We always like to hear from our listeners with any questions or topic suggestions or just general feedback on the show. And I guess that's all I've got.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See ya.